Hey people, it's Nias Toki. Now we're going to cover another aspect of black history, and this one isn't really talked about. And this is about the Houston Riot of 1917. So this is from pre-org stories. Remembering the black soldiers executed after Houston's 1917 race riot, 64 soldiers from the 3rd Battalion of the 24th United States Infantry, a predominantly black unit, were tried in the largest court-martial in U.S. military history over their roles in the Camp Logan riot. 13 was sentenced to death. Houston marked an anniversary in December that some in the city would perhaps rather forget, and others demand be recalled more clearly. On December 11, 1917, 13 black soldiers were hanged for their part in a little-remembered and deadly race riot. They were condemned to death after a trial many called unjust. Well, isn't that a surprise? We know about George Stinney and just how many of us. Now, at a moment when the continuing impact of racism and policing and criminal justice is a topic of fraught public conversation throughout the United States, relatives on both sides of that Houston riot are uniting to preserve the memory of the event and defiance of justice for those executed soldiers. It began in July 1917 following America declaring war on Germany entering World War I. The 3rd Battalion of the 24th United States Infantry, a predominantly black unit, was sent to guard the construction of Camp Logan, part of the new war effort on the edges of Houston. From the beginning, the soldiers encountered Jim Crow law and racism from police and civilians. Workers constructing the camp resented their presence. They sent these soldiers into the worst and most hostile environment imaginable, said Charles Anderson, a relative of Sergeant William Nesbitt, one of the hanged soldiers. The soldiers should never have been sent there. They should remain at their base in New Mexico until their order came to go to France. The tension mounted until around noon, August 23rd, when the Houston police arrested a black soldier for allegedly interfering in the arrest of a black woman, triggering a rapid escalation of events, leading to false rumors reaching Camp Logan by evening that a soldier had been killed and a white mob was approaching the camp. Well, that wasn't really hard to imagine. Just a few years later, they'd have Black Wall Street and the Rosewood massacres, so yes, they had good reason to believe that. Soldiers grabbed rifles and headed into downtown Houston against the order of their superior officers. The rampage lasted 2 hours and involved gun battles between the soldiers and the police and the local residents, with bayonets being used, leaving 16 white locals dead, including 5 policemen. 4 black soldiers also died. Also, after tempers finally cooled, the soldiers returned to camp. The next day, martial law was declared in Houston, and the following day, the unit was dispatched to Mexico before 3 court-martials were convened to try 118 indicted soldiers. 64 men were tried in San Antonio, charged with disobeying orders, mutiny, murder, and aggravated assault. During the first court-martial that began November 1st, the largest murder trial in U.S. military history, resulting in 13 death sentences. They were represented by just one lawyer and didn't even have a chance to appeal, says Angela Holder, great niece of Corporal Jesse Moore, one of the hanged soldiers, and a history professor at Houston Community College. They were denied due process guaranteed by the Constitution. Not one Houstonian among the prosecution witnesses could identify a soldier as having fired shots that killed someone, so nobody could actually identify anyone. While referring to the accused using the N-word, 7 soldiers agreed to testify against the others in exchange for clemency. On November 28th, the 13 men were found guilty and sentenced to death. 2 weeks later, without an appeal, they were hanged on December 11th. Shortly after the hasty executions, in the face of condemnation from both civilian and military figures, the U.S. military army made changes to its uniform code of military justice to prevent executions without a meaningful appeal. These changes remain in place to this day. It was too late for the soldiers hanged for a scaffold beside the Salado Creek in San Antonio. But some in Houston say it's not too late for some kind of justice. During the Obama presidency, several soldiers' relatives lobbied unsuccessfully for posthumous pardons. The petitions have now been sent to the Trump White House. Wow! I mean, I know Obama never did anything for black people. He couldn't even pardon people who were dead 100 years ago. That just shows you how useless that guy really was. God damn, he's just a disappointment. Oh well, let's move on. Holder was more successful in 2017 at lobbying the Veterans Association for gravestones in a Houston cemetery for 2 soldiers killed during the riot. And along with other local activists, she also helped organize the August 23 rededication of a Texas Historical Commission marker at the former site of Camp Logan to mark the riot's 100th anniversary. The ceremony was attended by Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner, who said the history of the event is calling us today to be better and for good people of all backgrounds to speak against hate and stand united. And it wasn't only the 100th anniversary to help focus the minds of the familiar with the riot on the past, present, and future. The centennial of the US entry into World War I has likely brought a heightened awareness of such events and emboldened people to address the sensitive topics, said Leela Rakoshi, program coordinator of military sites and oral history programs at the Texas Historical Commission. Also, recent national police controversy have struck at fortunate parallels with recent events surrounding the riot. This was a problem created by the community policing in a hostile environment, says Paul Matthews, founder of Houston's Buffalo Soldiers National Museum, which examines the role of African American soldiers during the U.S. military history. The soldier was standing up for America when it wasn't standing up for them. When? Again, it's never stood up for them. Stop talking in the past tense. And for those of you in Houston, there's something for you, the Houston Buffalo Soldiers Museum. Look it up. Actually, if I can look it up, I'll put the website in the description. A similar perspective is shared by some of the relatives who suffered because of the rioting soldiers. The soldiers were 100% wrong for rioting, but I don't blame them, says Jules James, great-nephew of Captain Bartlett James, one of the battalion's white officers who managed to restrain a large number of soldiers from leaving camp, but died under mysterious circumstances from before the court-martial, notes James, who has researched the history. The unit had 60 years of excellent history, was full of experienced veterans, but couldn't endure 7 weeks of Houston. Wow. Just shows you how bad the environment was there. Current attempts to deal with the racial tragedy brought Sandra Hatchman, great-granddaughter of one of the policemen killed, together with Holden Anderson, when they met to retrace the Houston streets taken by the rioting soldiers. The men did not have a fair trial, Hatchman says. I've no doubt about the likelihood the men executed had nothing to do with the deaths. You have to look at the whole story, why it happened, and learn from it. Both sides bear responsibility. Relatives continue waiting for a response to the pardon petitions. In the meantime, preserving the memory of the Houston riot and its aftermath has itself served as a kind of justice for the relatives of soldiers and police who died because of it. Sarah Hatchman's ancestor who was killed was a good policeman and would bring abandoned black children to his home where his wife would nurse them, Anderson says. No one should have lost their life that night had the right decisions been made. It was a very sad tragedy that did not need to happen. Okay, well, I hope you like this aspect of history that we've covered. I've covered. Anyway, again, I told you before, if you are in the military, or if you're thinking of joining the military in the United States, just don't do it. Don't do it. There's got to be a job or opportunities somewhere else. Okay? Because if you're a black guy or black woman entering the military, they are not going to treat you with respect. They are not going to give you a fair deal. We've seen this time and time again. And don't come to me saying, well, this was a long time ago. It's never stopped. I mean, if you go down my channel, you could see videos I did of service of women who've lost their lives and have not gotten justice. And if you like this video, please give it a like, comment, rate, share, and subscribe. If you want to support this channel, I'll leave the PayPal in the description, and I'll leave this source in the description. Peace, family.